Oh no!
Awesome.
Mind my business!
Fail.
Mind my business.
Oh yeah.
Mind my business. Hey everybody, and welcome to a late edition this time of Mind My Business. It's our opinion podcast from Hype 1000. I'm Max. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hype 1000. We're a corporate audio startup, and we enable companies to bring audio and podcasting into their B2B and B2E communication. And in the past couple of days, I've been talking to a few people about the topic of equipment and setting up the right equipment and the right studio or scenario where you record your podcast. And so there's a lot of articles out there that talk about the perfect setup to get the best audio quality. And I wanted to share my thoughts and opinions on that because, first of all, I think it really, and this is an answer that you get from people that do consulting work all the time, it really depends on your setup or on what you want. And that is really true in this case because, of course, you will get the best sound quality just from, how it sounds when you go to a studio. That is kind of like the laboratory environment where you can produce, no background noise, no so full noise cancellation, whatever. You reduce every other, like you take everything out of the equation except the voice, and you take a really good microphone. So that would be the ideal scenario. But of course, again, when we talk about, ideal scenarios, more often than not, we are not in an ideal scenario. So, especially if you're in a corporate environment, you don't have the time to go to a studio. You don't want to spend that money to go to a studio because it will always, add up to the bill that you're paying. And, it will also take up a lot of resources. A lot of people feel more comfortable staying in the office, or when you have guests, that don't want to travel because you need to pay for that. So if you want to do that, it becomes much more complex if you're not in a city or you don't have your own podcast studio in your company. Then, it makes the whole project much more complex. And in my opinion, you don't have to go to a studio if you're not recording some, really good storytelling podcast, or like some really, really good content piece where it really needs a lot of production with music and a lot of different speakers and interviews and all that. So when it becomes a very complex kind of like high-end product, most of the time we're talking about some type of interview podcast, some kind of like expert discussion podcast, where, in my opinion, it makes sense to be in an environment that you like, that you feel comfortable in. So and we're trying to make that happen when we work with clients, that we say, okay, what can we influence? So we can give them a guide on where to be in their office so that nobody's walking by, nobody's entering their office. So you're in a smaller, quieter office, and then we can help them in bringing in good quality microphones, and that is one of the key aspects that will, decide on if your content is gonna have a good sound quality or like a medium sound quality. Of course, you're able to get a decent sound quality just talking into your iPhone, but it's with a podcast, it's just on your ears. It's monosensoric and or monosensory. I don't know. I guess that's the word. So you're just using, your ears to listen. You just listen. You don't have anything that, an image that maybe makes up for poor audio quality. So you just have that. And so the quality has to be good. Not just the content has to be really good, but the quality of your audio too. So, and we tested a million different microphones to see what is the best kind of scenario to use, and that is one thing. So the microphone, and then the setup. I have a lot of discussions about it. Does it make sense to go on a browser-based recording tool? Then you have the latency, so you need to send out Zoom recorders and do just a regular call on your telephone, and then everybody records their track individually. In my opinion, especially when it comes to corporates, you need to make it as easy and as simple as possible for those clients to create content, because in the long run, if they want to really establish it as something that they will integrate into their communications, they need to be able to learn the basics in that area to be able to record record a podcast, to upload it, and that kind of stuff. They need to know that stuff. It's the same way as they need to have basic know-how about how to manage a social media channel, how to create good imagery. You at least you have somebody in your organization that knows that, because in the end, it helps to be faster and to create content. It helps to give your own company a vision of how you want to sound, what you want to create. So be faster, have more output in that field. So I think as an agency, as a consultant, you need to help those organizations to learn and enable them. So setting them up with the right microphone, educating them on finding the right place where to record a podcast, and then also educating them on some of the things, how to speak into a microphone. Like, don't be too close, don't be too far away of it. Have it at the right angle. Don't speak too fast, don't speak too slow. You are able to make pauses because you can cut it. Educating and education of the people in front of the microphone is really important. Even though podcasting is super simple and it's really easy to do, a lot of people don't get stage fright, but they get microphone fright. It's all easy and they're all good speakers, and the moment you set a microphone in front of them, they freeze up, they become crammed up or are a bit uneasy. So educating them, giving them the confidence to say, like, hey, it's no worries, you can do it, is one of the key factors. Choosing the right microphone, and then deciding on what is the scenario. Do we do it in-house? Do we have guests that are from abroad? Do we have to meet up? Do we in the end want to go to a studio? That really depends on the client wishes, and also on what kind of format am I creating. But in my opinion, you can create great sound, you can create great podcasts in a remote environment, and with some decent equipment where it's not the Shure SM7B. There's alternatives to that. You can check out our website. There is guides on how to choose the right room, how to choose the right microphone for your budget. We have that on our blog on hypecast.one. Check it out if you want to, or feel free to reach out and get into the discussion. I would love to hear how you report your podcast. How do you set up your studio, and what kind of equipment do you use? Would be really interesting to hear. So with that, I want to close this episode, and I hear you tomorrow.
Why don't you mind your business?